ask yourself, if Donald Trump were president, what would the reaction be to our border overflowing? Because our border is overflowing. And you have the Secretary of Homeland Security in leaked audio admitting that it is not sustainable. Listen to this from Fox News.
Behind closed doors, in this leaked audio talking to Border Patrol agents, Mayorkas says the situation is more dire than he is publicly willing to admit.
This is unsustainable. These numbers cannot continue. We cannot get to a point where we were a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We're looking at the policy options.
This is unsustainable. These numbers cannot continue. We cannot get to a point where we were a couple of weeks ago. What would the reaction be if this was happening with Donald Trump? We now know 40% of the people, according to the Washington Examiner, 40% of illegal aliens released in McAllen, Texas, tested positive for COVID. What would the media reaction be if Donald Trump were doing that, if he were allowing COVID positive people to be released into the country who were illegal aliens, and we are not keeping track of where they're going? The FDA has botched the vaccine rollout, causing doubt with the vaccine due to Johnson & Johnson. They started blaming Trump supporters, and now we know it's actually African Americans are the least likely people to be vaccinated in this country per capita. They're blaming Trump supporters when actually it's Black and Hispanic people who are less likely to be vaccinated, and the Biden administration has no message to reassure them the vaccine is safe. They bungled it with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The CDC continues to bungle its data. What would the reaction be if Trump were president? Crime continues to escalate in this country. Police officer in Chicago shot in the head, a young lady. The police officers turn their back on the mayor of the city who lashes out at them. Crime is up everywhere in this country. In metropolitan areas, crime is up. In some areas of the country, the Democrats continue to try to defund the police. It goes up. What if Donald Trump were still president? How would the media reaction be? Inflation. Turns out it's not transitory and it's through the roof. It is affecting commercial goods. It is affecting consumer goods. It is affecting wholesale prices. It is affecting retail prices. Joe Biden is having to ask OPEC to open the floodgates of oil after he shut down domestic oil production to try to get energy prices down, because energy prices are directly contributing to inflation, and they knew it when Biden came in January. They were having conversations in the media about energy prices contributing to inflation. What would the reaction be if Donald Trump were president and he were crippling domestic energy production and begging OPEC to open the floodgates? And inflation's on the rise. And then there's Afghanistan. The media was deeply critical of Donald Trump's handling of the Taliban in peace talks. From CNN to the New York Times, there was distinct, deep ridicule for the Trump administration trying to negotiate a solution with the Taliban that could get us out of there without the country collapsing. And now Joe Biden gave up on negotiations at all and has rushed out of Afghanistan, allowing the Taliban to flood back in and start the beheadings. We've had to send 3,000 military personnel to rescue our people still there, our diplomatic corps and others. And we've handed the country and its resources over to China. What would the media say? What would the media say if Donald Trump were president now? You know and I know they would be condemning him. The pundit class would be condemning him. The talking heads on television would be condemning him. The Democrats would be demanding impeachment all over again. But because it's Joe Biden, he's getting a pass from the press, from the media, from the talking heads, from the pundits, from the Democrats. He's getting a pass. You've got inflation on the rise, crime on the rise, illegal aliens flooding the border in ways that is not seasonal and is massive. You've got a failure to deploy the vaccine. You've got another massive wave of COVID. You've got the Taliban flooding back into Afghanistan, and the Biden administration is doubling down on peace talks with Iran, while the Iranians are conducting rogue operations in the in the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean, and the Persian Gulf, capturing tankers. And the Biden administration still wants to have peace talks with them. What if Donald Trump were president? This is why no one trusts the media, because you and I know what the reaction would be. But more importantly, whether they cover it or not, if a tree falls in the forest, maybe it doesn't make a sound, but if the media doesn't cover Joe Biden, he's still screwing up a lot of stuff, including our departure from Afghanistan. And us and our children will deal with the ramifications of it, a peace deal with Iran, out of control inflation, doubts about the vaccine, spread of COVID everywhere, illegals flooding the border, crime, inflation, all of it. We and our children will have to deal with all of this stuff, even if the media chooses